Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the gym. It is your guy, Boulanger, and up next, 23 and beyond. Why the Kansas City Chiefs will have an extended reign. Do me a quick favor, hit like. If it is your first time checking out the gym, hit subscribe. Also, hit the notification bell so that you get updates when we upload new content. Let's talk about it. So, we're back in the series 23 and beyond, where we are talking about each division, team by team, and we're talking about their present situation and their future potential to be in contention for a Super Bowl. You see, it always has to be a conversation about a Super Bowl because what's the other reason you would play, right? If you're not playing to compete for a championship, then there's no reason to be playing. So let's get right into the AFC West. And let's start at the bottom with the Los Angeles Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers are a team whose future is brighter than their current situation. Why would I say that? Well, let's talk about some positives for the Los Angeles Chargers. Number one, they do have a franchise quarterback. Even if he hasn't fulfilled full potential at this point, he's still young in his career. He's athletic, has a big arm, and he piles up a bunch of passing yards. And so that's what you want from your quarterback. You want him to be able to throw the ball down the field and connect with his wide receivers. Okay. So, number one, you got a franchise quarterback. That's a big time positive. Number two, I think that Austin Eckler, his time in Los Angeles is going to be short lived, which means they're going to find a replacement who is going to be more cost effective and cost efficient, which means that offense will get younger, but possibly more talented. When you jump out to the wide receiver position, they have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Mike Williams is out right now, but Keenan Allen has been a staple for that offense for a number of years. But I think they're going to replace him. I would look for Keenan Allen to be waived this offseason, especially if his uh, cap hit is not that high, and look for them to move Quentin Johnson into more of a prominent role along with Mike Williams, and even look for them to pick up some more talent at wide receiver in the draft to continue to build around their franchise guy in Justin Herbert. So, what does that mean for the future? The future means their offense will become younger, equally as talented, but have a lower price tag, which means this young quarterback has the potential to um, continue to make progress. When you jump to the defense side of the ball, they have a lot of young talent. Of course, they have Bosa and Mack in the trenches. Now, they're not as young as they used to be, of course, but they're still have an ability to get to the quarterback. But I think that they're going to move on from Mack in a year or two, which means they'll be looking for a new pass rusher, which means that defense will get younger and cheaper. Darren James, Asante Samuel Jr., two young studs, and they'll be up for contracts pretty soon. And so they'll have to make a decision on whether they pay those guys or not. But I think they probably will keep those two guys and just continue to add young talent. So this roster, man, is talented, from front to back. They just have not been able to get it put all together, which is why I believe they'll move on from their head coach this offseason if things don't turn around in these last 5 or 6 games for the Chargers. So that's why their future is bright when you have a young talent and a franchise guy. And the reason why I say it's brighter than their current situation is kind of cloudy, right? It's kind of overcast, dark clouds, rain is on the way because the San Diego Chargers have yet to be able to get out of their way. In the Justin Herbert era, they've continued to fall apart, collapse in big games. So case in point is the game against the Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs last year, where they had a big time lead and they let Jacksonville walk them all the way down and uh, defeat them. So I think that the Chargers will miss the playoffs again this year, but I think because they have a lot of young talent, they will have an ability to kind of build around their young talent and fill out that roster and be competitive at some point in the future. That's why their future is brighter than they're right now. When we jump to the Denver Broncos are a team. I think their current situation and their future is kind of cloudy. And I'm using it from the forecast context because, when it's cloudy, it's kind of dark and gray, and really not enjoyable, when the rain is coming, when the storm is coming. But I think for the Denver Broncos, it's kind of cloudy both now and in the future. Well, why? Well, number one, they do have a franchise type quarterback, but Russell Wilson is now 34, 35 years old. And when you get older, you don't necessarily get better, right? So you have to continue to put better talent, upgrade the talent around Russell Wilson. Well, here's the thing. They did upgrade the offensive line, but when you look at the wide receiver position, when you look at the tight end position, you have a lot of unknowns, right? Jerry Judy has been surrounded by trade, what's the word? Trade rumors for the last couple of seasons. Cortland Sutton has also been surrounded by trade rumors. Those are your two top wide receiver talents on this roster. They traded away Fant when they went and got Russell Wilson. And so there's a lot more questions on this offense around an aging franchise quarterback than knowns. And so when you know less than what you can prove, then the current situation is very cloudy. The best thing they have going on that's going to be pretty solid is their running back Williams, who is a solid running back, tough, has some speed, has some power, and can get downhill. So he's a bright spot, but big time question mark at the quarterback position. Big time question marks at the wide receiver position. So this offense has a big time question mark. When you look at defense, the defense has been solid for the last couple of years. But with this offense in flux, how much more pressure would that put on this defense? I think the Denver Broncos tried to force open the Super Bowl window by going and trading for a guy like a Russell Wilson, but unfortunately, that window is still shut. Even when they brought in Sean Payton, which hasn't been a total revival for this offense and for this team, you know, um, it just doesn't look um, well, doesn't look beneficial, positive for the Denver Broncos. So I don't think that their Super Bowl window is going to open anytime soon, especially when they have so many more questions than they have answers. When you jump to the Las Vegas Raiders, I was about to call them Oakland. When you jump to the Raiders are a team, man, who've had a merry-go-round at the quarterback position the last couple of years with injuries, David Carr in and out. Then they got Jimmy G in and out. And so I think the Raiders right now and their future is cloudy, meaning there's more um, questions than answers, a lot of uncertainty. They probably will not make a push in the late season to get into the playoffs, which means they'll end the season very similar to how they ended last season. And they have a lot of questions. Will they keep Antonio Pierce? I think they should, which would be the only bright spot in a lot of uncertainty. But Jimmy G is not the answer. He's a stopgap type quarterback. I think they knew that when they brought him in. They went out and got a Devontae Adams a season ago, a season and a half ago, to kind of force open the Super Bowl window to kind of pair him with Carr, but that didn't work out. And so I think that the Raiders will try and flip Devontae Adams this offseason when his contract is more manageable and um, more workable for another team to try and recoup some of that draft capital they gave up to get him. I think they'll let Josh Jacobs walk in free agency only because what's the point in paying a big time running back money when you're certainly not sure about your quarterback and you're certainly in a rebuild type situation. I think the Raiders will go out and try and get a young quarterback in this year's draft, and so I think that this offense is totally in rebuild. The head coach, of course, like I said earlier, Antonio Pierce is like the interim, which I think they should keep. And then this defense is a building defense. They have improved. They're making some strides. And so I see the Las Vegas Raiders building a bully of a defense over the next year or so, while they get their new young quarterback in house, get him trained up, learn the NFL, and I think they'll try and refresh this offense. And so I think they'll become a defensive minded team in the like of their head coach. And I think that the Raiders um, at some point will have to fully hit reset. And I think it's cloudy now, and it'll be cloudy in the near future. So when you look at the AFC West, there's a lot of uncertainty about two of the four teams with the Chargers right now having the brightest of futures of the teams I've spoken about, which leaves us with the champs. So when we talk about the champs, we have to start with nobody else than Patrick Mahomes. I believe that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have the potential to rule and reign over the AFC West and the AFC as a whole for the next 5 to 8 years. Patrick Mahomes currently is 27 years old, and that would put him between 32 and 35 years of age. Now, we understand that when a quarterback stays healthy and a team continues to build around that quarterback, they have the potential to play well into their 30s at a prime time level. I don't see anything right now from the Kansas City Chiefs that says that Patrick Mahomes will not be able to do that. He can make all the throws. He still has a strong, he has a very, very strong arm. He can still move with his feet. And Kansas City has continued to show that they're going to do what is necessary to churn this team to continue to build around Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes just got a contract extension, so he's locked in to Kansas City, probably certainly for the next 5 years, but certainly for the duration of his career. Kansas City Chiefs have not shown uh, a willingness to stay stagnant, right? To just hold on to guys for the sake of holding on to guys. Case in point, Tyreek Hill, a champion, big time receiver, still a top three guy. And you know what they did? They said, you know what? You want more money? You have to get it elsewhere. Let's turn you into some draft capital. Turn them into some draft capital, open up some cap space. And they went out and won the Super Bowl after getting rid of or moving on from Tyreek Hill. Okay. They won a championship this past year. And what did they do? They moved on from a couple of defensive players. They moved on from Orlando Brown, who they got from the Baltimore Ravens, put together a new offensive line and have not missed a beat. Now, are they the Kansas City Chiefs of old, the high-powered, high-flying offense? Not in totality, but they do have the potential to still do that. The only concern that the Kansas City Chiefs have going into the future is what happens when they have to replace Travis Kelce. But they have shown the ability to draft well. They have shown the ability to bring in players to fill in gaps, just like they went and got Frank Clark, for example, from the Seattle Seahawks a couple of years back. Actually, more than a couple of years back, but they got him, won the Super Bowl. But when it was time for him to go, they moved on from him. And that's the difference between championship level teams and teams who get kind of stuck in the mud because they got favorite players. The Chiefs have shown an ability to retain who they need to retain and move on from who they need to move on to, and that has allowed them to continue to put young talent, young cheap talent on this roster. And so the big question is going to be for the Chiefs over the next 5 to 7 years is what will they do with Andy Reid? Will Andy Reid just continue to coach, or will Andy Reid want to move on from coaching because he is an offensive minded a minded genius when it comes to play calling and creating scheme, and he's shown that consistently. I mean, the case in point is that the Chiefs have been to 5 straight AFC championships, been to 3 Super Bowls, won two, right? And so there is nothing that says that they're going to be slowing down anytime soon, especially with a couple of teams in their division who are going to be having a changeover at some point in the 5 to 7 years, 5 to 8 years, excuse me, getting new quarterbacks, recycling their wide receivers, that kind of thing. And the Chiefs have a core of guys starting with no other than Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, who will be together for at least the next 2 years, 3 years before Kelce begins to consider retirement and things like that. And so I think that the Chiefs will be at the top of the AFC. Um, for a while, and when I say at the top, that doesn't mean they're always going to be number one or number two. It could just mean when they win their division, you're a top 14, right? And there's nobody in that division who has a defense great enough to slow down this Kansas City offense consistently, and there is nobody in this division who has an offense who has the ability to pummel this defense of Kansas City's consistently. And so there's no reason for me to think that they're going to be going anywhere anytime soon. So around the AFC, teams are just going to have to get better, right? And if the Chargers, who is probably the next team up, if they're going to really compete with the Chiefs, they're going to have to develop some consistency at coaching, at playmaking, and in their health. So that's my take on the AFC West. Looks like the Kansas City Chiefs are um, the mainstay. Their present is sunny, and their future is bright also. So listen, let me know what you guys want me to know. Ravens fans, please don't come after me. I'm not promoting the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not saying that the Ravens couldn't dethrone them on occasion. I'm just saying what we look at right now from their current situation and into their future, they have a situation that has the potential to keep them at the top and competing for championships for years to come. I'm your guy Boulanger. This is the GM, and we're out.